Henry V, was talking to his men. He said, "From this day to the ending of the world, we in it shall be remembered. We lucky few, we band of brothers. For he who today sheds his blood with me shall be my brother."
On December 7th of 41, we were in a store and a guy in that store told us to put our uniforms on. What the hell are you talking about? He says, the USA is in a war with Japan. And everything just went silent.
Well, our country was attacked. It's a different. It wasn't like Korea or Vietnam. We was attacked. And, you know, it was a feeling that maybe we just dumb country people, but where I come from, but a lot of us volunteered.
We came from a small town, and 3 fellows in that town that were 4F committed suicide because they couldn't go at different time.
How it happened that those various individuals happened to end up in E Company, I don't know. But as you know, every Army unit thinks it's the best. But we knew we were the best.
The Toccoa men, that's the ones that was there at the very beginning. They are very close.
As the parachute, we got that done in Edinburgh, Scotland, 1944. Me and Johnny Martin. Drunk as a skunk.
Well, Garnier and I decided we'd go to Scotland and get a tattoo.
A very unusual feeling, it's a very unusual happening, and it's a very unusual bonding.
You know these people that you're in service with, you know those people better than you will ever know anybody in your life. I mean, you know them right down to the final thing, you know, and that comes when you start your training, while that progresses.
You didn't want to be afraid, you know, because all these other guys are right there with you, and you know, your bravado and all that.
How do you prepare yourself? Mentally, each man must do that himself. Each man must prepare himself mentally to make that jump.
I think everybody had fear. I think there's people that can handle fear. I think I was probably one of them. I think I was just as scared as anybody else, except I could think.
The thing you worried about most was your chute. Did you pack it right? And you'd go through that, you'd pack it one day and jump the next day. You had all night to think about it. You had all kinds of ideas of what you might have done wrong.
I cannot remember leaving the plane until after the chute opened up. My God.
It was a thrill. It was a high, as they say these days.
You know, coming down is great. I was small too, and I didn't hurt myself when I hit the ground. Some of the big ones hit the ground like a ton of, what's his name?
It's a feeling you would not let yourself down, and you would not let your comrades or your unit down.
We were ready. We were ready. We were stationed in England for about a year before D-Day.
And that day that, we got the orders to get in the planes, this is it.
You know you're in the parachute troops. You're going to be jumping behind the enemy lines. What do you expect? You have no idea. That'll make anybody stand and search his soul for a few minutes.
So since I was jump master, I could lie in the door, at the door of the plane with my head out in the slipstream looking down. And I saw the thousands of craft, ships, everything from LCIs to battleships down there in the channel. And I think that's when I first realized how large the invasion was.
We rode for about an hour and a half, I guess, before we went down off the south end of England and then across the Jersey Islands and then across the Cherbourg Peninsula. And that's when the fireworks started.
It was like a July the 4th celebration 10 times over.
You could see tracers all over the place. That's why everybody wanted to get out of the plane as fast as they could. There was a certain relief, I think, when the green light came on and everybody said, let's go.
And lower than we should have been. But that wasn't bad either because you got to the ground quicker. When we went out the door, opened to look to see if my parachute was open, you could see tracer bullets burning holes through the parachute.
Got such an opening blast from or opening shock from the prop blast that it broke this chin strap that we had on this helmet liner, and that's when I lost this famous leg bag that everybody talks about just from the shock of the opening. It just flew right off my foot.
And they told us that all you'll have to do is shuffle up to the door, throw that leg out, prop blast will hit it, and you're gone. Well, they were right. Only I was gone out and my leg was in. And I was hanging upside down, looking at everything down with my leg in the plane and everything. And all this happened in just a split second. And Paul rolled me out. Paul Rogers rolled me out.
I just helped him out. I just picked him up, threw him out, I guess. Had to get out. We just wanted to get out so bad.
And I come down right behind City Hall, watched them shoot at me all the way, which wasn't very long. My chute fell across the power lines and I hit that fence and fell into a farmer's garden. And that fence I'll never will forget it, it had glass in the top of it and cut me up and everything, but that didn't bother me. I was down, and I got down with my gun. And I lit in a tree. I had my trench knife, and I reached up and grabbed a hold of it's a big trunk, the tree. I swung into it. I cut those risers with, I think, one swipe, and I come down that tree like a monkey.
And then there I was with a trench knife and a canteen and about 6 candy bars in my pocket, ready to fight the German army, you know.
I hit the ground in a kind of a field, and we were way, got looking at my map, and we wasn't anywhere close to where we were supposed to be. We didn't know where we were. We was plumb off our maps that they'd give us.
In any direction you went, there would be enemy. You knew it. And that was all part of what you accepted.
My friend from Erie was in another plane. When I hit the ground, I hit about 2 feet away from him. And him and I start walking around looking for more of our troops. And we were running into Germans everywhere, but we had to hide, you know, because if we didn't, we were dead meat.
We lost a lot of people that night, but you try to put it all on your mind. So there's 4 guys that were with me on D-Day who did have nothing but a jump knife when they landed. So we had a Hope scrounge. As it worked out for all of us, later on we run across somebody who had been killed. And you take his weapon, and that's how you get a weapon for D-Day, rather haphazard.
On the beach, those people coming in on those boats, those Germans had those big guns aimed right at them, you know, and just waiting on them. Oh, they had it tough. They had it tough. I admire everyone of them.
At the time, I had no feeling whatsoever. Like I said, my feelings was for my brother who was killed. When I jumped on D-Day, I swore I was going to kill every damn German I came across. And that's why I think they nicknamed me Wild Bill, because I did a lot of killing D-Day.
Of course, when you get to the top, you don't expose yourself. I took my rifle and put my helmet on it and put it over, even with the road on a dike, and no action, so I brought it back down, put the helmet on, and I sort of peeked over. When I peeked over, I see a hand there with a potato masher, and he threw it at me. I ducked down, it hit my helmet and bounced off. So when that thing bounced off my helmet, I hollered out to the guys below, "Live grenade."
If Lesniewski hadn't hollered live grenade, and I had enough sense to know that that's that grenade that hit my rifle and is laying right in front of me, in my face practically, I know I'd have either had my head blown off or I would have definitely been blind. There's no question about that.
I had 8 grenades, so I started taking them off, pulling the pins and throwing them over. I think I threw the 8 grenades in about 4 seconds.
So the doctor that counted the holes in me down at Nijmegen, the first doctor that really counted the holes, said there was 32.
They had trenches cut in there where they worked, the Germans did, and they jumped down in them trenches and they worked them Germans like a dose of salt.
3 Germans broke off from this position to run across the field, which was the wrong thing to do from their viewpoint. We cut them down.
I was in a trench and I looked and I saw a man was in a camouflage tent and I didn't even see him. And then I saw an arm stuck over that tent and one of those potato masher grenades, with a stick, come over there and I said, well, he's gonna miss me. And that thing fell right down in that trench with me. And I was trying to scuttle my way out of the way of it and went off. And I felt like it blowed my butt over my head. And pretty near did.
He's behind the enemy lines on D-Day. Does he holler help? No. He hollers, "I'm sorry, Lieutenant. I'm sorry. I goofed."
I felt like I kind of let him down, but that's neither here nor there.
My God. It's beautiful when you think of a guy who is that dedicated to his company, to his buddies, that he apologizes for getting hit.
Winters was an exceptional leader, and he was able to size up all through the war, size up combat situations and decide quickly and correctly the best way to take care of whatever the problem was.
He was a real soldier. He was one of the best.
He never thought of not being first or sending somebody in his place. I don't know how he survived. But he did.
If you're a leader, you lead the way. Not just on the easy ones, you take the tough ones too.
We've been through Normandy. We've been through battle. And maybe if I had been harder, if I had done a little bit better job, there would have been a couple more men going home.
They were like heroes to us, That's how we looked at them. And they were good. Furthermore, they were good. We had good officers for the most part, but we had excellent NCOs. They looked after you.
I look upon them, each man with great respect I can't describe. Each one of them proved himself that he could do the job.
I got right there to where I didn't want to be friendly with replacements coming in because, God, I didn't like to see them get killed. It just tore me up.
You don't have a chance when your friends go down, to really take care of them as you might, and especially if you're in an attack, moving or whatever. And I withstood it well, but I had a lot of trouble in later life because those events would come back, and you never forget them.
I've seen death. I've seen my friends, my men being killed. And it doesn't take too many days of that, and you change dramatically.
We didn't figure we had a chance to come home. But, but we thought, well, hell, the war's just starting, and Christ, we're 50% not gone now, so it's a long haul.
We had this assistant squad leader named Mallet. He was from New York City. And I overheard him talking one time. This was in Bastogne. He says, I've been through Normandy and went through Holland. And to this day, he says, I haven't got one scratch. He says, I'm afraid when I do get it, I'm really going to get it. And he was right. In this little town of Foy, he got killed. So I don't think he had any premonition of it. He just wondered about it, you know. But I never did wonder. Never give it much thought. You just live from day to day. Keep your fingers crossed, and that was it.
All I remember is a tremendous blast in a flash. And the next thing I knew, I was laying on the ground in the snow, and when I tried to get up, only thing I could see were the broken ends of my legs. And I thought, I'm dead. You know, I'm about to die. And then the next thing I thought of was my mother. And I thought, what's she going to say? Because I was an only child.
When a man was wounded, we felt glad for them. We felt happy for them. He had a ticket to get out of there, and maybe a ticket to go home. And when we had a man who was killed, we found that he was at peace.
I mean, you're under German occupation for 4 years, right? It's horrible when you see paratroopers come out of the sky on Sunday morning. Who are they? They're angels.
The Dutch, it was just marvelous. Their reaction. They loved Americans and still do for coming in there and pushing the Germans out.
And they hugged you and kissed you, and we didn't mind. You know, naturally, we was young. We didn't mind at all.
We were short of equipment. We didn't have enough ammunition. We didn't have enough warm clothes. But we had confidence that our higher military authorities would get to us whatever we needed. That when we got up there, we didn't know what we were getting into. There was very little information, only that the Germans had broken through.
As it worked out, there's some men actually got on the trucks and left for Bastogne and didn't have a rifle.
When we got there, we saw men singly and in twos and threes working their way back, some of them even without weapons, without equipment. They couldn't believe when they saw us up there that we intended to set up defensive lines and to stop the Germans. They said they couldn't be stopped.
We went out of town, we started taking up their weapons and their ammunition.
Asking the guys that's retreating, you got any extra ammunition or hand grenades you don't want? Oh yeah, you could hear the firing going on up ahead, and we're marching towards it with hardly any ammunition.
We marched through the night and went up to the forward side of Bastogne and dug in, and then it snowed.
Snow, cold up to your rump. We didn't have no winter clothing or nothing. That's where a third of the doggone casualties was either frostbite or tracefoot or whatever you want to call it.
You couldn't build a fire. If you build a fire, some crazy thing would shoot at you.
Bad move. A lot of snow. A lot of everything you didn't like. Ooh, it's a cold place.
Even today, a real cold night, we go to bed and my wife will tell you that first thing I'll say is, I'm glad I'm not in Bastogne.
Now, you must understand, the Germans were, we were surrounded. The Germans were about maybe 100 yards away from us.
No matter where you looked around the circle, you could see artillery flashes. So we knew from that we were surrounded.
There was on top of this hill, there was a ridge with a tree line. We were dug in on that ridge. Germans knew right where we were, and they really gave us a shellacking.
It was right at dusk, and the Germans had this, this woods of ours zeroed in completely, and as we hit the woods, why this tremendous artillery attack came.
They knew where we were, and they started shooting point-blank 88s into our area.
They were letting us have it, everything. The kitchen sink mortars, Erfelwaffers, that's a rocket thing that's a screaming sound.
It scared the hell out. I mean, I was scared, but I think I was petrified then. I thought the whole world was shooting at us at once.
To infantrymen in wartime, the Mother Earth is your best friend. And you can always dig a hole and get out of sight, We dug plenty of those. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how quick you can get through that hard ground when somebody's shooting at you and them shells are falling. Now you can make fast work of it. We just have to dig that hole.
Well, we say we became experts on foreign European soil. We dug in, and two people could dig a better hole than one.
In the ground that's frozen, it takes quite a while. You just chip it out. And by the time you get it done, they whistle for you we're moving out. And you go someplace else and dig another one.
I jumped into a foxhole that somebody had started and then hadn't finished. So I was crouched down in that foxhole, but it wouldn't hold all of me, so from about my nose up was above the ground. I could see all these shells hitting.
Sergeant Garnier lost a leg, and Joe Toy lost a leg in the same place right there on one hill. I remember just this certain instance,
Joe got caught not near his hole, and Bill and I were ahead of him, and Bill had not been hit, and he came up out of his hole quickly, and we were still under heavy fire.
Joe said, Jesus Christ, what do I have to do to die? He got hit real bad, the back and the leg, and he's out there and have a medic, and he can't find a medic. I went out to see what I could do for him. Bongo, I got it too.
I went over to Garnier. He was sitting on the ground. His leg was badly mangled. He was holding his leg and it was jerking like that. And he said, Lip, they got old Garnier this time. He had been hit before, but they really got him there.
We got him out of there, like Babe Heffron and I and some others, and they brought a Jeep down, and we put him on stretchers, and I better not talk about him. Better not talk about it. It was terrible.
But we went through a couple of shellings at Bastogne that were earth-shaking. If you lived through them, you remember them for the rest of your life, and I'm not sure you're the same for the rest of your life after you lived through them. You never forget them.
There was one moment there that I remember vividly. I'll never forget it. One of the guys got hit in the arm with a piece of shrapnel, took his arm off above the elbow. And they were taking him out. He said, get my wristwatch off my arm. And 40 took him out. That always stayed with me. I mean, And I calm voice and everything, get my wristwatch off my arm.
Wham! And the 88 was the fiercest cannon or gun that the Germans had. And it was the way they used it. It was an all-purpose gun. It could shoot anti-aircraft, tanks, anti-personnel, airburst, and that was the bad ones when the shell went up over your head.
I saw a huge mushroom cloud from the shell, and Joe Toy stepped out of it. And I run up. I remember that like it was just, I run up and I grabbed him. And he said, "Oh, don't touch me." I said, "Joe, what's my?" He said, "I'm hit all over." He said, I'm bad." I said, "Okay." I said, "I'm going to go see Jim." He said, as bad as he was hurting, Joe Toy, he said, "Heffron, I already checked him. He's gone." Jim Campbell might be alive today. If he hadn't have said to me, "Heffron, you stay here with your gun. I'm going up." And I never, I sleep on it, I eat on it, I never forgot that. And anybody that went through it, I'm going to tell you the same thing. They can't, nah. It's just so bad all your life. You got to remember what one guy did because he thought it was his job to do, and he took a shot for you.
It is Bastogne, though. It is.
This is Bojack's Woods, right?
Yeah. Sure looks different now. There ain't no snow. That's it. Yeah.
That's the town of Foy.
Yep. Oh, this is definitely the area. This is definitely. Well, there's the town of Foy right over there after the empty field where those cattle are grazing.
About a half a mile away to be.
Yeah, we had an outpost set up looking right into the town of Foy. Of course, the Krauts had plenty of artillery.
Most intense I went through, buddy. Shelling. Most intense in the world. You couldn't believe it. You had to be here.
You just dove in the hole and just pray. That's it. If it comes in, you ain't going to know it.
You ain't going to know it.
We lost Muck and Pancella over on this side. They were killed instantly. Direct hit, 88.
Direct hit right in the hole. Just made mincemeat out of them.
Georgie Ludge come over and he hollered, "I can't see nothing of them. There's nothing there. They were all gone, just disintegrated."
Unmerciful shelling, really.
It's an odd feeling.
To me, it brings a lot of memories. The memories of the men, the times, good and bad. A lot of memories.
We took Berchtesgaden May the 5th.
Berchtesgaden, it's the retreat that Hitler had for himself. And he built his eagle's nest, his penthouse, on top of the Alp to, I'm sure, relax and confer with his staff because they all followed him to Berchtesgaden. This was their final retreat. And of course, this is where they had their loot as well. This was the goal of the French who were on our right flank. This was the goal of the British, and this is the place to capture. This is the one everybody wanted. I had no problem with looting because of the fact that I had come down through Germany and I had seen the Holocaust. And I had seen what the Germans had done to the Jewish race, and I'd seen what they had done to the displaced persons, and what they had done in their occupation of France and and what they had done to their occupation in Holland, Belgium. So that by taking over their homes for a few nights to bed down my men, and if they picked up a few trinkets, I had no problem.
It was a beautiful country. He knew how to pick out a good spot for a house. We took over his house and liberated it, you might say.
I was a pack rat anyway. I picked up a lot of German items, including some postcards and envelopes that were addressed to Hitler.
Come find out, that place was full of this big art, you know, Rembrandt and all those people, you know, and hanging on the wall, you know. Of course, the old soldiers like us, we don't recognize a painting when we see it.
We found a warehouse full of gin and vodka and stuff like that. It wasn't much whiskey. Those people don't like whiskey. And we took it all and set up a bar.
Had 7 truckloads of champagne and cognac out of the wine cellars out of the Eagle's Nest. So we stayed pretty well oiled for a while.
That champagne was good. Ooh, it was good.
I started drinking it one day, and I drank it till about midnight that night. I went to the barracks, went to sleep. I didn't wake up the next day. I made a 2-day thing out of it. And it didn't taste like it would hurt you. It tastes like ginger ale.
That was the only time that I can ever remember that when I was in service that the whole company fell out in their underwear. We didn't even have to dress, you know, because everybody was pretty well looped, and so we just fell out in line formation in our underwear.
They're enjoying themselves, they're at peace with the world, they have a big, happy, satisfied grin on their face. It was a paradise for a soldier to move into. Nobody has ever taken the time to tell you how to handle a surrender. Jesus. We'll talk about that when we get there. Well, here we are, we got it. Now, how do you handle this?
The German army was a well-disciplined army, and those prisoners that come down out of the Alps, they came down in formation. They marched down. They didn't drag down, you know, or nothing like that. They came down as defeated soldiers.
I think we thought that the Germans were probably the evilest people in the world. But as the war went along, we found out also that it wasn't the Germans per se. It was the SS and the special troops. They were the one that could kill their own people, and the regular German soldier was not that way.
One of those prisoners handed me this little book I could have, and I looked at it, and it was a little Catholic prayer book for the Mass. And all of a sudden, I'm faced with the thing, hey, I haven't got Nazis here, I got some Catholics. And I've got a Catholic good enough to stick one of these in his pocket.
We used to say only good crowd is a dead one. Well, but there was something in there that, you know, hey, that was a kid. Most of them were kids. We all were kids.
A lot of those soldiers, I've thought about this often. That man and I might have been good friends. We might have had a lot in common. We might have liked to fish, you know, he might have liked to hunt. You never know, you know. Of course, they were doing what they were supposed to do, and I was trying to do what I was supposed to do. But under different circumstances, we might have been good friends.
I have a great deal of respect for them as soldiers. They are very good soldiers. But they're still enemy, so they must be controlled as prisoners. When it reached the level of surrender for company and smaller units, I was assigned this major, and when he walked in, he presented me this pistol and offered his personal surrender, which naturally I accepted gratefully. So that would be the end of the war for his men, and this is basically the end of the war for my men. And the significance is that it wasn't until later, when he had given me this pistol and I had a chance to look at it carefully, that I realized this pistol had never been fired. There was no blood on it. That's the way all wars should end, with an agreement with no blood on it. And I assure you, this pistol has never been fired since I've had it, and it will not be fired.
Seemed like you thought that you could do just about anything. And after the war was over and you came back out, well, you lost a lot of that. Or at least I did. I lost a lot of that confidence.
I think it was difficult for most fellas coming back. They didn't know what they were going to do when they got out. I had no idea.
We didn't come home and flout ourselves. I didn't come home and, I was a war hero or anything. I just come home and went back to look like we did before we went. Just go to work and live our life.
Took up a course in ornamental horticulture. It didn't pay very much, but there were a lot of nice people.
We've never become wealthy in life, but we have a lot of other wealth that means more than that, really.
My family didn't know anything about it. And I just didn't tell them. I just, figured it's something that didn't need talking about. It was done, over with.
The purpose the reunions serve is just to give us a chance to get together and talk to each other. We relive some of the Army experiences, but we have great respect and you might say affection for each other. The type of affection that you get when you've lived through many dangerous situations together and have learned that you can rely on each other.
If you see the people today, that bond's still there. The bond you can't explain. As soon as you see them, you know you're thinking of battles and thinking of it to yourself. The men staying out amongst each other.
There's an intimacy develops, and like nothing that I've ever experienced anywhere, not in college, not in with any other group of people.
We're a strange bunch of dudes, as far as I'm concerned, to be this close after all these years. That's the thing that gets me, is I like brothers. I'm back in my youth now. When I get to these guys, I'm back when I went to service. It's fantastic. I'd like to make 20 more reunions.
We had a lot of real good times in there. And those are the times that you really remember, That's a lot of those is what we kid each other about, at these reunions a lot of times. And then you had a lot of bad times.
We didn't know Shifty the way the men know Shifty,
So, but he started talking about it just in the last 5 or 6 years, last 5, I'd say. It was like that was another life, as he was another person, and we weren't aware that the stuff he went through, things he'd seen. I didn't even, it didn't even dawn on me that he'd killed people.
I really admire my daddy. He's a good guy. He's a real strong guy. We travel a lot, and we've been to France and to that cemetery. It's just incredible. There's crosses upon crosses upon crosses, and just lined up perfectly as far as the eye can see. And then there's a cliff, and then the ocean. When I went there, I said, "Dad, my gosh, Dad, you were so lucky." And he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I'm very lucky," and he started crying.
These guys have been with each other in the absolute base experiences of human existence. They were there with each other, knowing you're going to die, or thinking you're going to die, or seeing people dying all around you. And there they went, day after day, and I admire that. It held my father even on his tombstone as Sergeant Joe Toy. 506 PIR, 101st Airborne Division. That's what he wanted on his tombstone. It meant that much to him.
These weren't just anonymous statistics. These were people that I knew, and I told my daughter, I said, "This guy here died at age 19 or 20, a whole life, never lived. No family, nothing. No children, no opportunity to have some satisfaction of building a life, nothing.
The real heroes are the fellas that are still buried over there and those that come home to be buried.
So brave is unbelievable, and I don't know anybody that I admire more than Bill Garnier and Joe Toy, and they were very, very special.
I'm just one part of the big war, that's all. One little part. And I'm proud to be a part of it. Sometimes it makes me cry.
Think about your God more than anything else. Think about most of them every day. Something is etched in your memory, I guess. He'll never leave either.
Am I a little proud of having once served in that outfit? You bet your life. I wore that eagle on my right shoulder for 18 years. Probably the proudest thing in my whole life, having been in Easy Company 506.
The heroes have crosses over their heads, the ones that are buried in the cemeteries. Those are the true heroes, not us. We're just part of the work, that's all. And we thank God we got back alive, that's all.
How would you like to be a mother or a father whose son never come back? The son and the mother and father are the heroes of the Second World War. How's the guys that come home?
Let me say this. I don't believe there's very, very, very few heroes that came back from the war. They're still over there.
Do you remember the letter that Mike Ranney wrote me? Do you remember how he ended it? I cherish the memories of a question my grandson asked me the other day when he said, "Grandpa, were you a hero in the war?" Grandpa said no. But I served in a company of heroes.
Joe Toy, oh, there was a big Mick. We used to have a few beers at night, and I'd sing, and Garnier would try to come over and sing. He'd say to Garnier, "Garnier, you're Italian, you don't know this song." Garnier could sing it better than he did. The Bridget O'Flynn.
How's it go?
Oh, Bridget O'Flynn, Bridget O'Flynn, where have you been? Sure it's a fine time for you to come in. You went to see the big parade, me eye. Sure the big parade I never took so long in passing by. Look at your shoes, ain't it a sin, Bridget O'Flynn? Sure your story and your shoes are mighty thin. If you know anyone that owns a canoe, I'm telling you, Bridget, just what to do. Stay away from the water, Bridget, darling. Now that's the song Twilight. Now that's what we sang. You only needed a sissel of beer. 2 beers you were drunk because you were in great physical condition. You were too peaked, and 2 beers you were high as Georgia Pine,